Flames licked the night sky like hungry tongues, devouring the wooden beams of my childhood home with a roar that drowned out my screams. I stood frozen on the dew-soaked lawn, the acrid stench of burning plastic and memories choking my throat, as sirens wailed in the distance like a belated apology from the universe. That was the night Karen Whitaker, the self-appointed queen of our homeowners association, decided my life wasn't worth the HOA dues I'd fought her over. It started with a petty dispute about my mailbox color to vibrant for her pristine suburbia, but it escalated into arson, a federal courtroom showdown, and a bitter taste of justice that still lingers like smoke in my lungs. Let me rewind, because this nightmare didn't ignite overnight. I'd moved back to Elmwood Estates after my dad's passing, inheriting the cozy two-story house where I'd skinned my knees on the driveway and carved my initials into the backyard oak. The neighborhood had changed, though gone were the block parties and friendly waves. In their place was Karen, a bleach-blonde enforcer in pearls and yoga pants, patrolling with her clipboard like a warden in a gated prison. She was the HOA president, elected unopposed because no one dared challenge her. "Rules keep us civilized," she'd say with that saccharine smile. But her eyes always glinted with something sharper, like a knife hidden in a bouquet. The conflict sparked at the annual meeting. I showed up late, coffee in hand, still grieving Dad's absence. Karen was droning on about fines for unapproved holiday lights when I raised my hand. "What about the dues hike? It's triple what it was last year, and half the streetlights are out." The room fell silent, chairs creaking as heads turned. Her face flushed crimson, lips pursing into a thin line. "Mr. Reyes," she hissed, her voice dripping with that faux politeness that masks venom. "If you can't afford to maintain standards, perhaps Elmwood isn't for you." A murmur rippled through the crowd, some nods of agreement, others awkward shuffles. I felt my cheeks burn, the sting of her words hitting harder than the grief I'd been carrying. That night, I sighed deeply as I unlocked my door, the key scraping like an accusation, wondering if I'd poked a hornet's nest. But oh, it got worse. Notices started piling up. My fence was an inch too high, my grass a shade too long. Each one signed with her flourish. "Karen Whitaker, HOA president." I'd comply, grumbling under my breath, the scent of fresh-cut lawn mingling with my frustration. Then came the mailbox. I'd painted it a deep teal, Dad's favorite color, a quiet tribute. Karen pounded on my door one afternoon, her heels clicking sharply on the porch like gunfire. "It's non-conforming," she barked, waving a rulebook. "Repaint it beige by week's end, or face eviction proceedings." Eviction? From my own home. My heart pounded, a mix of rage and disbelief surging through me. "This is harassment," I shot back, my voice trembling. She leaned in, her perfume cloying and floral, whispering, "Try me, Alejandro. Immigrants like you think you own the place." The word immigrants hit like a slap. Me family had been here for generations. But to her, my last name was enough to paint me as an outsider. I didn't back down. I rallied a few neighbors, quiet folks who'd whispered complaints but never spoken up. We formed a petition, demanding transparency on HOA funds. Whispers turned to shouts at the next meeting. Someone even called her out on embezzling for her pool renovations. Karen's facade cracked then, her breath hitching in a sharp gasp as she slammed her gavel. "This is mutiny," she cried, but her voice wavered, a hint of fear beneath the bluster. That night, as I lay in bed, the house creaking softly in the wind, I felt a flicker of hope, the cool sheets against my skin a small comfort amid the storm. Enter the unexpected twist, Marcus, the reclusive veteran next door. I'd barely spoken to him in years. She kept to himself, his yard overgrown with wildflowers that somehow evaded Karen's wrath. But one evening, as I nursed a beer on my porch, the tangy fizz bubbling against my lips, he shuffled over, his cane thumping rhythmically on the sidewalk. "Heard about the petition," he rasped, his voice gravelly from years of silence. "Karen's got skeletons. I saw her siphoning funds back in 18, got proof on my old camcorder." My jaw dropped, the bottle slipping in my grip. Marcus, with his faded tattoos and haunted eyes, became our secret weapon. He was the wild card. A grizzled guardian angel who'd lost his own battle with the HOA years ago when they fined him into near bankruptcy after his wife's death. His revelation added layers to the fight. It wasn't just about me anymore. We pored over grainy footage in his dimly lit living room, the musty smell of old books and cigar smoke enveloping us. His sighs heavy with regret as he recounted how Karen had twisted rules to her advantage. The intimidation ramped up. Anonymous notes in my mailbox, back off or burn. Phone calls at midnight. Heavy breathing on the line that sent chills down my spine. I reported it to the police, but they dismissed it as pranks, their radios crackling indifferently. Karen's smiles turned predatory at neighborhood barbecues, the sizzle of burgers masking her barbed comments. Careful with fire, Alejandro, she'd say, flipping a patty with a wink that made my stomach churn. My emotions swung wildly fury one moment, paralyzing fear the next. I'd pace the kitchen, the clock ticking like a countdown, exhaling long breaths to steady my racing heart. Then came the blaze. It was a humid Tuesday night, the air thick with the promise of rain that never came. I jolted awake to the crackle of flames, smoke seeping under my bedroom door like insidious fingers. Coughing, eyes stinging. I grabbed my phone and bolted downstairs, the heat radiating through the walls like a furnace. Outside, the inferno consumed everything, Dad's old photo albums curling to ash, the oak tree scorched black. Neighbors gathered, murmurs blending with the fire engine's howl. And there, across the street, illuminated by the flickering orange glow, stood Karen, her arms crossed, a smirk playing on her lips before she melted into the shadows. The investigation unfolded like a thriller script, twists piling on. Arson was confirmed, accelerant traces matching gasoline from her garage. But Karen lawyered up, claiming innocence with tears that fooled no one who knew her. It's a frame job, she wailed in interviews, her voice breaking dramatically for the cameras. The media frenzy hit, HOA tyrant or victim. Headlines screamed, dividing the community. Supporters rallied with signs, chanting her name, while others shared stories of her bullying fines that forced families out. Rules bent for her cronies. My testimony was raw. I choked up describing the smell of charred wood, the phantom heat on my skin even weeks later. Marcus's evidence tipped the scales. In a hushed courtroom side room, he handed over the tapes, his hands trembling slightly. For my Ellen, he muttered, a single tear tracing his weathered cheek. That footage exposed her embezzlement, turning a local spat into federal fraud charges layered on the arson. The trial was electric, the wooden benches creaking under tense bodies, the judge's gavel echoing like thunder. Karen took the stand, her pearls gleaming under harsh lights. But her composure shattered under cross-examination. You burned his home to silence him, didn't you? The prosecutor thundered. She stammered, breath ragged. No. It was an accident. Lies crumbled. Witnesses poured in, their voices a chorus of pin-up outrage. The climax hit in that federal courtroom, air thick with anticipation. The jury filed in, faces stoic, the rustle of papers the only sound piercing the silence. Guilty on all counts, the foreman announced, his voice steady but laced with gravity. Karen's gasp ripped through the room, a guttural cry as she collapsed into her seat, handcuffs clicking like final punctuation. I exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding, tears blurring my vision, the weight of loss and vindication crashing over me like a wave. As they led her away, her heels dragging in defeat, I stepped outside into the crisp autumn air, leaves crunching underfoot. The neighborhood rebuilt, not just my home from the ashes, but our spirit. Marcus and I shared a quiet beer on his porch that evening, the clink of bottles a toast to resilience. Justice isn't always swift, but when it burns bright, it illuminates the truth. No one is above the rules they wield like weapons. Stand up, fight back, and watch the tyrants fall, because in the end, the flames of accountability consume the guilty, leaving room for new growth.